The shoulder is one of the most mobile joints in our body. Can move in a lot of different directions, but with that, it's also one of the most unstable joints in our body. I think that was a quote in a movie one time, with great mobility becomes great responsibility. I think that was the Incredibles too. There are passive structures in the shoulder that provide stability. The labrum, the joint capsule itself, the ligaments that surround the joint. But we ask a lot from our muscles to provide dynamic stability. Muscles like the rotator cuff, the deltoid, the long head of the biceps. We ask a lot of these muscles to provide that stability. But it goes beyond just those muscles. The muscles that attach to the shoulder blade are also involved because the shoulder blade positions the shoulder joint to be successful. So today we're breaking it down into 3 categories, 3 things you can focus on now to maintain your shoulder function later. Those 3 categories are having a stable base, having stability and strength within the scapular muscles. Number 2, mobility within the shoulder joint, the glenohumeral joint. And number 3, having stability from those dynamic stabilizers that we talked about in the intro to stabilize the shoulder. A great exercise for getting stability through a stable base is the kettlebell armbar. And what that looks like is starting on your back. You need a kettlebell. You can do this bottoms up for a little more challenge, or bottoms down will make it a little bit easier. But what we're doing here, I'm gonna go bottoms up. We're starting back flat and we're rotating and swinging the leg over. At the top, we're also externally rotating the arm. So your thumb is kind of pointing back behind you. Then we come back to shoulders flat, and the thumb is now pointing towards the inside of your body. So up, leg swings over, externally rotate. Nice, slow and controlled. And down, thumb turns in, and we're back to flat. It should be a straight line between kettlebell, hand, shoulder, and at the top, that bottom shoulder. So straight line between those 4 points. You should really feel the shoulder working to keep everything steady. Another one that's really good for strengthening the scapulothoracic muscles, or the stable base muscles, is the prone Y. And what we're gonna do is you need a bench, or a physio ball will work, and you can even do them flat on the floor if you have neither of those. But what we do here, lying flat, we are not bringing our arms straight overhead, but it's close. It's like in between straight overhead and out to the side. We are coming up into that Y position and holding 1, 2, 3, and straight down. This one's really good for the traps, the upward rotators, and the rhomboids, the retractors. So you're hitting both of those with this. Prone Y, arms go up. You can use weights. It's not an exercise you're gonna have big dumbbells for. You might be able to do it without weights and feel a good burn at the shoulders. Shoulder mobility. The best way to maintain your shoulder mobility is to use it. So that's where this first exercise comes in. It's called a shoulder CAR, or controlled articular rotation. And what we're doing, you can do it standing, you can do it kneeling. We're essentially drawing big circles with the shoulder. An important distinction is we only want the shoulder moving. We don't want a lot of scapular elevation or shoulder shrugging. We don't want any thoracic extension or leaning back. So it's all the shoulder. And a thing to keep in mind is the position of my thumb. That's gonna allow me to complete this rotation all the way through. So when I'm at the top here, ideally thumbs pointing back, and then we start to rotate down and around. And we go up, thumbs back, high as you can get it. Here's is where I get stuck, so I have to rotate the thumb to bring it down and around. This should be pain-free. If you're having some symptoms with this, I would suggest shortening your range so your circle is not as steep. So it would look something like this. Out, down, and around. Up. Rotate, down, and around. 5 to 10 circles. And that is the shoulder car. The next one is called the loaded beast. It's a good exercise because we have some overhead shoulder mobility in it, along with some stability when we're in a position that looks like a tall plank. So what this looks like is you're on the balls of your feet, arms are out wide. So here you're almost in an overhead shoulder position, and we shoot out to a plank and back. And you can go pretty quickly with this, so it also makes for a good shoulder warm-up exercise. But we are getting that overhead stimulus here and stability here. An oldie but goodie, the banded external rotation is really good for improving external rotation and rotator cuff strength. So all you need is a band. You can, again, do it standing or kneeling. We have elbow to the side. It's almost like you imagine you're pinning something to your side. And then all it is just an external rotation, little hold, slow back. The key is as you externally rotate, we don't want the deltoid to help too much. So it shouldn't look like this. Remember that towel's there, you're pinning it down and rotating. And in and out. An alternative to the standing external rotation with the band, you can add a little spice to it, and you can add some other movements. Now this is still stability because we're hitting the rotator cuff, but you're also going to get some help from the periscapular muscles. So what this looks like is a row, and then we externally rotate, and then we press overhead. So external rotators are still on, keeping us from coming forward, and then we reverse it. So back to 90-90, internal, in. Row, externally rotate, press overhead, reverse, down, internally rotate, and arm goes forward.